Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today we are joined by Michael Robinson, who is the president of Eastwood Guitars. Eastwood Guitars is a very unique guitar company. It was one of the first guitar companies doing direct to consumer. So we talked a lot about how the business actually started, the models that the business follows, what it was like actually growing this thing, and kind of what's next. Eastwood is also one of our clients, so he talked a lot about how impactful media and socials are for his business. It's a really interesting listen, and this is my conversation with Michael Robinson. Take me back to that beginning. So what were you doing before Eastwood?
Okay, yeah. So I was a electronic design engineer laying out printed circuit boards here in Canada for a bunch of different companies. And then I kind of, at that time, software, this was all like drafting board stuff. Then software came about, computer-aided design systems came about.
Yeah.
So I was one of the first 5 people in all of Canada doing that. And within a year of doing that, they're trying to sell this software to all these other companies, so they needed guys to help them sell it.
Yeah.
So I kind of evolved into a sales position from doing the work.
Nice. Just from actually being on the grounds.
Yeah, because you needed somebody to go and stand in front of a room full of engineers and tell them how awesome the technology was, et cetera.
Yeah.
So that's what I was doing beforehand, and then that would have been kind of mid-'80s when that first started. And then...
how did you realize there was a need for that? Like, what was that process?
You mean the need for the software, or...
Just both. Like, how are you one of the 5 people initially doing that, and how did you figure?
Because I was working for a good, decent-sized company that was doing printed circuit boards on drafting tables, and I've been doing it for 10 years.
Yeah.
So I was pretty good at it. So they spent the money on the latest technology. One of those kind of companies that are leading edge.
Cool.
So the people, it's a company called Raycal Redac out of England, started selling the software, and our company was one of the first companies to buy it.
Nice.
So I started using it. A year later, they said, well, now we need people to help sell the stuff. So I kind of evolved into a salesman. And then we ended up deciding, well, we should start our own company, being distributors for this software.
Nice.
Which we did.
Just identifying that need and just kind of, nice.
Yeah. And then, so I'm skipping through that quite a bit. But at the same time, there was another company, a couple of guys just like us in California that were doing the same thing in California.
Yeah.
We got to know one another. I think we all met on a sales contest where everybody went to Greece or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but we got along well, and we decided, hey, we should just merge.
Cool.
So I ended up moving to California.
How did you know, like, do you have a business background? Do you have, like, some sort of business? Like, how did you know the mergers and acquisition conversation? How did you know all that sort of thing?
Yeah, I didn't.
Nice.
I didn't, yeah. But the partner that I joined up with, a couple of guys I joined up with. The one guy was kind of MBA sales type person. We were more the engineering technology guys.
Yeah.
The other two, but we built it up to maybe we ended up opening offices in Boston, Chicago, Miami.
Wow.
Doing the same thing, just demonstrating the software to local businesses.
Were you still sales at that time? Sales and marketing?
Yeah.
Nice.
So then when we merged with these guys on the West Coast, I ended up becoming VP of sales for the whole thing.
Wow.
For all of North America.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my that was where I learned the basic fundamentals of how important sales is.
Yes, sales and marketing. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was all self-taught, but it was all kind of obvious.
Yeah.
You need leads to sell people stuff.
Yeah.
So that kind of evolved into this hobby I had my first hobby is I was a rabid record collector. Like when I moved we were actually living down the street here in Burlington.
Cool.
We moved from there down to California, and I took maybe 2,500 LPs, like vinyl LPs, a ridiculous amount of records.
How did you pack those?
Oh, in milk cartons. Everybody used to have them in milk cartons. But the weird thing is, like within a year or two of getting there, the whole medium changed to CDs. So I would go out and spend most of the money I ever earned on buying the same CD of the vinyl that I had, just because it was the latest convenience.
Yeah.
So I ended up with like a couple thousand CDs.
Yeah.
I never used the vinyl again.
Yeah.
But anyhow, that was during that time too. I started getting an interest in collecting weird old guitars.
Nice.
And that was the early days, probably.
Who was the player in your family, or was it just you?
I think I was the only guy who was noodling around with I was noodling around with the guitar when I was in early high school.
Nice.
Just
nice.
Playing, listening to a record, putting a record player on and trying to figure out how they played it.
Yeah.
But anyhow, it was more the look of weird, and when I say vintage guitars, most people think Fender and Gibson vintage guitars.
Right.
I'm talking about weird stuff that came out of Japan.
Yeah.
That our parents were buying us for Christmas gifts in the late 60s.
Yeah.
Out of Sears catalogs. Montgomery Ward, I think, was the one in the U.S., but Sears was a big one in Canada. So all these guitars have been flying around the U.S. for 30-odd years at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So bring you up to the mid-'90s, eBay starts.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, I love collecting these things, but I got to sell them as fast as I collect them because they just take up too much room. It's like fishing. It's like catch and release. You just want to get the thing.
Yeah.
So I'd go around pawn shops in the Bay Area every weekend. And back then, pawn shops and guitar stores, nobody had websites.
Yeah.
This was way before anybody had. So nobody was selling anything online.
Yeah.
And I would just go to a pawn shop, wander in there, find 2 or 3 interesting things, buy them for, $300, take them home, fix them up, make the wiring work properly, adjust the necks and everything, and try to sell them for $600.
Nice.
And it was just a weekend hobby. That's
Cool.
all it was.
Yeah.
But
while you're still doing your full-time gig.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
While I'm still doing a full-time gig.
Yeah.
Because we sold that company back to the engineering and the thing. We sold that in '97 to a company out of Portland, Oregon. So I ended up working for them for 3 years. So
during the transition.
Yeah. But the fixing up guitar thing was it was a giggle for me. I really enjoyed doing it. And I would, take nice photographs of them.
Yeah.
Put them up on eBay, sell them.
Yeah.
So I of all those guitars, and if you go back, well, let me skip ahead a bit. So
sure.
I ended up starting up this website called myrareguitars.com in 1997.
Mm-hmm. Who did the website? Did you make the website?
Yeah.
Cool.
And it was crude, very, very crude. I can't even remember the tools I used, but there was nothing like Shopify or anything like that around back then, so you had to hack it together.
Yeah.
But I would just take all those images I'd collected over the years of the weird, funky guitars that I was buying and selling on eBay, and I would recreate. The best way to describe My Rare Guitars at the time was it was essentially what people call a blog right now. Mm-hmm. I wrote long stories about every guitar. Here's this Italian such and such from 1957.
Yeah.
Here's what the switches do. Here's all the information I can find online about it. And it became kind of a resource for like-minded people. Anybody who liked those kind of weird guitars.
This is like pre-Reddit as well too, right?
Oh, yeah. Pre everything.
Yeah, that's great.
It was
over
30 years ago. About 30 years ago. Anyhow, so the problem you find in business is eventually I ran into a supply and demand problem. There was only so many weird guitars in the pawn shops in the Bay Area, so I needed more stuff to sell.
How did you know, so you already identified there was a market for this?
Yeah.
And you were making some traction.
Yeah.
Talk me through the first, I don't know, what was the major milestones that you hit that were okay, this is something I should really try to figure out where the supply is?
Yeah. So I hit that point. I was selling 1 or 2 guitars a week at the most.
Nice.
Making
$1,000 give or take. Yeah.
It wasn't really a dollar amount. It was more the volume to make it viable. From hey, I'm making money at this.
Yeah.
You needed to get up to more 10 guitars a week or 50 a month or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I didn't need the money because I'm still working, but I just started thinking boy, I'm having way more fun
doing this
than being a VP of sales for a software thing. It was painful work back then because these sales that we were working on were, $500,000 deals. So they would have 18-month sales cycles that would be.
And I imagine it was a lot of in-person sales activity, right?
Flying all over the U.S., visiting with
that's what I think
engineering
about,
departments. Yeah.
What I think about in my role right now is I feel so lucky to be able to call somebody. Yesterday I got a call from the UK, about a project might be in Toronto.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have ever happened pre-cell phones,
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? And the fact that I can kind of just Zoom call somebody, we have an email, I can Zoom call, it's incredible.
Yeah, back then we were in the software and we were advertising in print magazines like Professional Engineer Magazine. That's a magazine that I think it was called PN, something like that. But every engineering firm that was designing anything you could possibly think of electronic, like all the stuff you look around here,
Yeah.
they're all made by some manufacturing place, and they would be laying out printed circuit boards, and we would advertise the software in the magazines that they read.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I was getting kind of tired of it. It wore you thin. It was
For sure.
And the guitar thing was like, wow, this is way more fun.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, how do I get more? How do I solve the supply and demand thing? And this company in Italy, Eco, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. EKO is the brand. They'd been around since the 50s. And I found that they were still handling distribution in Europe out of Rinconada, Italy. So I just emailed them and said, hey, do you guys need a distributor in the U.S.?
Nice.
And the guy came back to me. And in hindsight, I should have thought, well, wow, this guy's probably just sitting on a bunch of dead inventory. What a pleasure to get this email from this Robinson guy. Anyhow, so within 3 weeks, I bought 60 guitars off them. They shipped them to me
And
in
you
California.
just had you just like fronted the cash from the full-time gig.
Yeah.
Had the inventory. Nice.
Yep.
That's
and
awesome.
Stuffed it all into the garage in our house in California.
Yeah.
Did this rinse and repeat, take photographs of them,
Yeah.
tell a good story about them, throw them up on eBay. But now I'm throwing them also on the My Rare Guitars site.
Cool.
And I'm trying to push people
To
from
the landing
eBay
page.
to my landing page where
Cool.
there's more content there.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, and a lot of people don't seem to understand how simple this is, but when you understand sales and marketing and the importance of leads, if anybody ever asked me a single question about anything on eBay or on the website or anything, like, hey, do you have this in red?
Yeah.
You capture their email address and you add it to your mailing list.
Yeah.
So I had an emailing list of 100 people, then 1,000 people, then
Nice.
10,000 people.
Wow.
And now, like fast forward to now, we've got probably 250,000
Wow.
contacts,
Wow.
email, social, and everything else, because social came along later. But the key thing was, anytime I found a new guitar at a pawn shop, or now I'm getting these things from Echo in Italy, taking a picture, I'm emailing everybody who's ever asked me a question about anything.
Hey, we got this one.
They might be
What do you
interested.
think?
Yeah, they're like-minded people, and they don't mind being on the mailing list.
Cool.
So, so I went through Echo. That worked out great within a couple of months.
And that was your first kind of big order.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then I thought, well, I could handle distribution so I contacted Burns Guitars in the UK.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Can I be your distributor in the US?
Yeah.
So I added Burns.
And were
then-
you taking a percentage of these deals at the time, or how did it work?
well, no, with dealers, it's like anything. If the guitar, let's say the guitar retailed for $1,000, most dealers are buying it for 35% off. So you buy it for $650, and then the retail's $1,000.
Right.
That just gives you that's different in the clothing industry,
Yeah.
hardware, equipment. It's all, but there's always a profit margin for the dealer margin. As long as you buy enough guitars,
Yeah.
they discount it for you so you can make a profit.
Nice.
So the same deal worked with Burns in the UK. And then I contacted a guy in Philadelphia, Chris DePinto. I think he's still making guitars.
Nice.
Because the common theme was these were all kind of weird, funky guitars. They were not Fender Gibson.
Were they having a problem trying to sell the ones that you were trying to sell as well? Like, how did they run into that distribution kind of, I wouldn't say problem, but like, were you kind of the major, like, hey, I can really sell these for you?
So, okay, so for example, let's say Chris. Most Chris DePinto, most guitar builders and engineers who make stuff, they're great at building stuff, but they're not good at sales and marketing. Chris would not know that I should keep email addresses from everybody who ever asked me a question. It wouldn't occur to him.
Sure. Yeah.
But, once you get good at that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and then you start getting a reputation. Like the Burns guys are thinking, well, who else do we have in the U.S.
Yeah.
that's gonna do this for us?
Mm-hmm.
And as long as I kept selling, I would keep buying.
Yeah.
So that whole thing started getting traction, and now I had multiple brands on the My Rare Guitars site, including weird vintage stuff, personal collection stuff. Now we got Echo and Burns and DePinto, and there was a few others I added in there over time. But this all happened over maybe a 3-year period at the most.
Cool.
And that's when we sold the software company. I was working for the guys in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
there was some material changes in that business that kind of gave me the opportunity to leave, and on good terms.
Yeah.
But free myself from doing that and focus more full time on this guitar thing, which I still wasn't sure was a viable business. I wasn't making much more than a guy. I could have worked at McDonald's and maybe made more money. I don't know, but
that's what I was going to ask: is how scary was that leap to full time, knowing that you have a family at this point, and knowing that you have a house, a wife, all these different things.
Yeah. It wasn't so scary for me because, well, I shouldn't say that. One of the things that happened was during that process, we ended up moving back to Canada. And we might answer the question you asked. I'm not sure if that's for sure, but I remember thinking, I think I can make this business fly, selling guitars.
Yeah.
But the cost of living in California,
it's too high.
Was just too high.
Yeah.
And what triggered that was the whole September 11th thing happened. Yeah. It was just kind of devastating. It was just my wife Kay and I remember like it was yesterday. We just went out for sushi for lunch one day, and I said, "What do you think about moving back to Canada?" And she says, "I like that idea," and that was it. Because we were spending all our summers back there anyways, because we had a family cottage back there.
Yeah.
But it all kind of came together quite quickly. So that was probably shortly after September 11th. That kind of triggered the thought process on that. So I went down to the NAMM show, which is the big
what
industry.
Year was this?
So it would have been right after September 11th, so 2001,
yeah.
December or January 2002. This is the big industry show that every guitar manufacturer in the world, everybody from China, Korea, all over the place, and they're there. And I basically just went down there to think I can meet with the guys from Burns, Chris DePinto, Echo guys will be there. But I also thought, well, I should just start my own brand. Like, why am I buying guitars from other people?
Yeah.
If I start on my own brand, I just need to find the suppliers.
And I think a big testament is just taking action, right?
Yeah.
And I think I relate to that idea a lot in my life too, is just take action, we'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
And was there any hesitation before going to that NAMM show? Be like, oh man, is this something I should do? Or am I because I can imagine the fear potentially being there and be like, well, obviously you're going to enjoy it because it's what you're into, but you're going for kind of a mission at that point.
I've always been that way. I've always been the kind of the thing that cripples any business is indecision.
Yes.
And I've always been like, let's just make a decision because I'm pretty sure we got a 60-40 chance that's going to be right. And if we're wrong, we'll just stop as soon as we find out it's wrong. But if we start now, then in a week we can fix it. And a week later we can make it better. And then by the time 4 months goes by, the decision has been tweaked. It's changed a bit. Yeah. But you're 4 months into a good decision as opposed to sitting there for 4 months doing nothing.
Exactly.
And that I see that happen a lot. That was all. I've always been that way.
That's great.
It's, whether I'm risk averse or I don't know. I don't. I'm not afraid of making
failure.
A mistake.
Yeah, sure.
Because that's how you learn. That's how you learn stuff.
Yeah, and me and Troy talk about that a lot in our business. Is in the early stages, we have to push risk averse, and then we'll taper later because there has to be the willingness to take risk and the willing to try new things and the willing to, let's get an office, let's see what happens then. And then that generates more leads for us and all that sort of thing. So I totally relate to that idea.
Yeah. Yeah. As long as you got a good sense of what the cash flow is. Mm-hmm. So you're not, the killer of most businesses is taking on too much debt and never being able to get out of it. And then taking risks that you shouldn't take to get out of debt. So one of the biggest things I learned from the software days, the engineering days, we got ourselves into a bad situation. The market collapsed. There was a lot of things that happened in kind of like the late early 90s where the economy kind of dried up and it's hard to hold back expenses. So you're spending money getting further and further into debt. And it's just the worst feeling. Yeah. That was one of the other reasons when I started the guitar company. I said to myself, I'm just not going to have any debt to anybody ever. Yeah. Which means I need to sell directly to the consumer.
Yeah.
And the consumer's going to give me the money, and I'm going to give them the guitar.
Yeah.
If I try to sell to, Guitar Center or Walmart or some big thing, then you give them 90-day terms, and then
that's when you start cash flow.
That's when you can run into trouble. Now,
Yeah.
the downside to selling direct only is you can't scale the business as much as you may want to otherwise. But I've never been really interested in making this thing, a 30, 40, $50 million company. It doesn't appeal to me. I just want it to be fun.
Yeah.
So that was the initial structure and why I decided to go direct to consumer. And I mean, we're talking 2002.
Yeah.
I'm at the NAMM show and I run into and I took my own personal Most guitar with me, and I'm kind of walking around showing it to people. Can you make this? Can you make a copy of this? And
What
I
were
finally
people's
found
reactions?
there's a few other people doing a similar thing.
Cool.
It's funny you asked that question because I remember now vividly. The main reaction was like, "Get out of here, kid! Like you're not serious."
Yeah.
And then you finally start asking questions like, "Well, how many guitars do I need to order
Yeah.
to get this going?"
Yeah.
And they figure they would scare you off by saying you need to buy a full 20-foot container load, which is 600 guitars.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay. I went back to the hotel room that night and I just pulled out a pad of paper.
Yeah.
And I started writing a purchase order together for 600 guitars.
Yeah.
I want, 24 of these in blue, and I want this, and I want that, and that. And there was a Clint Eastwood Film Festival because I had no name for the company or anything.
Yeah.
So I just temporarily wrote Eastwood Guitars just for a placeholder.
Yeah.
And went into to the trade show the next day. Told the guy, "Here's my purchase order." And the guy was like, "Oh, okay. What are the terms?" He asked me, or I asked him, "What are the terms?" Is 50% with the order now, and 50% when it's ready to ship. Mm-hmm. And I thought, let's do it.
Yep.
And that was the end of it.
Yeah.
So that was January. We made the decision to move home to Canada. We sold the house in June of 2002.
Yeah.
Moved back to Canada, and then a 20-foot container of guitars backs up our driveway where we're still living today.
Yeah.
And with 600 guitars in it.
What month?
June or July.
June, July.
Yeah.
So one of the questions, so I've heard the story, but I want you to tell it. Mm-hmm. So talk to me about what you did with that shipping container. And then also mention you were mentioned a funny detail about eBay and some correlation between your personal life about your birthday.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes. I only just discovered that my birthday is September 3rd and eBay started September 3rd, 1995.
Yeah.
So that was like, wow. So I was one of the first guys selling stuff on eBay.
Yeah.
That is weird. But the container, yeah, so I basically went around the neighborhood knowing that this was going to be, we had to unload the container. They usually give you like 4 hours, and the guy either just sits there and waits. I got all the neighborhood kids, gave them $20 a piece, and we carried all the guitars into the house. We were stuffing them in the basement. We were stuffing them in the living room. Like, took over the house, filled it with guitars.
Did you check like the first 5 or so?
Yeah. You have to open them up and look at them, and hopefully. And, I wasn't disappointed. And it
awesome.
was, yeah.
I was going to say, what was their first reaction? Yeah.
Yeah. That was great. And then, fortunately it was July, so it was warm out, and I just started taking photographs and putting them up on eBay, putting them up on the website, emailing people. Yeah. And the sales started coming in quite quickly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think Eastwood is a great name. Like I know again, it wasn't too much thought behind it, but it really sticks. Eastwood Guitars really sticks. And like you could say something about, East, growing up in Canada, like you could kind of tie it together that way in some way, but I think overall,
the way I used to do it was just that these guitars are made of wood from the Far East.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Exactly. So that brings you to, okay, unload day one, right? Mm-hmm. You had 600. How long did it take you to move that inventory?
I don't know. I'd have to look back on it, but I know it was better than I expected.
Nice.
And it was still just myself, one-man operation doing the whole thing. But I started seeing the light that this is going to pay the bills. This could even more than pay the bills.
Yeah.
And now I need to start thinking about buying another container full and just to keep replenishing.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking it was only 3 or 4 months later. There was a guy who owned a guitar store in Georgetown, Ontario,
Yeah.
who had heard about what I was doing.
Yeah.
And he emailed me, and he wanted to pop over and say hello. And so we did. Came over, had a chat. He was a great guy. He says, "Well, I've got a guitar store, and it has guitar lessons. So
Cool.
he has like 4 or 5 guitar teachers
Mm-hmm.
that all know how to set up and ship guitars if they needed to be. So we ended up renting a space right near where his guitar store was, just like an automotive bay type of thing.
Yeah.
The next containers all started going there.
Yeah.
So it was 1,000 square feet, then it was like 2,500 square feet.
Yeah.
So we just kept building up that thing.
Yeah.
And he would hire and manage all the guys we needed to set up and ship these guitars.
Nice.
Yeah, and that took us from probably 2002 to 2007 or 8.
I was going to ask about 2008 because the financial crisis that happened.
So just prior to that, we made the decision to actually go exhibit as Eastwood Guitars at the NAMM show.
Cool. Wow. What a moment. Did you see the guy, that first guy who gave you the purchase order? Did you see him there?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah,
that
yeah.
year.
Yeah,
And you're
yeah.
like,
No, we would always go out to dinner or lunch together. And
you're like, you helped me do this.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And it was fun. And to my surprise, it went over way better than I expected. And
That's so cool.
because there was kind of a pent-up demand of people who had been buying our guitars direct from us,
Yeah.
who had never really seen the whole family in the flesh,
Yeah.
or people who have thought about buying stuff from us,
Yeah.
and then they walk into a trade show and there's a wall full of Eastwood guitars that they could
Yeah.
pick up and play. And so it
Was it just
really
you?
helped expand the brand awareness.
Yeah. Was it just you at the time doing that show?
No. By that time, we had a couple people. I think
Nice.
Peter, the guy who worked for me in Georgetown, he would have come down there. Yeah, we had a few other people.
Nice.
I think my brother came and some other friends who were helping us with marketing and stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that worked great. Then, 2009, when the financial market imploded there because of those credit default swaps mess, our sales dropped 40% overnight.
Wow.
It was just a stunner.
Yeah.
And I had not been through that before.
Yeah.
So it was hard to manage. I just thought, okay, I got to keep my eye on expenses. I got to stop buying stuff in. We got to try to get it so we're at least breaking even all the time till we figure our way through this.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I would say 2.5 years
To get back to normal.
to get back.
What do you think you were doing a month prior to?
In terms of
Like 2007, how much was your best month as far as units sold?
Oh, geez, I don't know. But right now we're doing, well, I would guesstimate probably 200 units a month. That probably dropped down to like 120 units a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then that bounced around that level until it started getting up. And now we're significantly past that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because with products, you can kind of do that equation of like the break even cost analysis on each per unit. And then you figure out, okay, this is my baseline per unit I need to sell.
Yeah.
And then you kind of just scale from there. Or you, like you said, you kind of taper down, you figure out what's your actual
and you want to be able to do it without laying off people because we ended up having to lay off one person, I think, kind of 18 months into it, just because there was no visibility as to what's going to happen next.
Yeah, sure.
And that just kind of, when we came out of that, we started seeing a lot more opportunity. So we ended up opening up an office in Liverpool, UK, because we had, which at the time could address all of Europe. Mm-hmm. And it was a similar thing there. I went over there to do a mini trade show in London. I asked the guy who was a dealer of ours over there in Liverpool, Carl Cook, who's still with us today, if he can come down to the trade show and help out. And, whatever guitars don't sell, he can have them for half price and take them back so I don't have to send them back to Canada. And unfortunately for Carl, the day one, the first guy that walks in, he says, "How many guitars you got here?" 24. I'll take them all. And it was one of the big shops down in London.
Yeah.
So anyways, Carl and I got along great for like 2 days. And I said, why don't you just close this store you have in Liverpool and just come work for me full time and handle distribution? It'll be way less stress than having some guy hanging out at your store all day asking you questions, not buying anything. So
he was just running a regular store, like just selling everything.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
He had all kinds of different brands and whatnot in there. But
yeah.
Anyhow, so that's how we grew.
And he was just game. He was just like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Sometimes you meet somebody that you just get along so well and you think, well, this is going to be way more fun than the old way of doing things. So, so that happened. And then a couple of months later, maybe a couple of years later, I think in 2011, excuse me, we're, just still thinking about managed growth.
Yep.
The next big problem was we're sitting here in Canada and we're shipping 90% of the stuff to the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting killed on import duties, taxes, and brokerage fees. And
yep.
so once again, I met up with one of the guys who was a dealer of ours in Chicago, Teddy Gordon, and said, "Look, Teddy, why don't you've got a store, you're selling and shipping online. Why don't we just get a bigger warehouse?" And you can manage the whole warehouse like the guy does in Georgetown for me. We'll eventually phase out Georgetown because there's really not much action in Canada, unfortunately. Maybe 4% of our revenue is Canada.
Yeah.
So that was the next stage, and we moved everything down to Chicago. And that went very, very well up until just a year ago. A bunch of other things happened in between then, but it just continued growth. We started a new brand called Revolta, where I partnered with a guy named Dennis Fano, who's he's the inventor of Fano guitars and owner of Fano. He also started a new brand called Novo Guitars. These are all made in USA, high-end $5,000 guitars. But he's a designer that has like the highest level of respect in the industry. Mm-hmm. So I just went to him in 2016 or 17 and said, "Dennis, why don't I handle sales, marketing, distribution, and everything? You just give me designs, and I'll go make them over in Korea." Mm-hmm. So we can get a Dennis Fano product into that $1,500 range instead of the $5,000 range.
Right.
And that worked out great.
Yeah. Was there any apprehension on his end, or he was just like, this makes total sense?
No, it was helpful for him because he was trying to grow. I mean, it's capital intensive to make guitars in the United States.
Absolutely, yeah.
So he thought any cash flow I can bring to him to help with that, it's a win-win for both of us. And I could leverage his credibility to elevate the brand, and it worked great.
And you guys came up with Revolta as a name together?
He came up with anything to do with the designs, the naming conventions, everything. Cool. I just handled sales, marketing, distribution.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really cool that you're willing to give so much flexibility and freedom to these creatives, because oftentimes sales and marketing and creative don't have that relationship when you really should. Like, you really should just let the creative do what they need to do, and then the sales and marketing do what they need to do, and they should work in unison. Mm-hmm. So I love that. And
that goes both ways. Like it was, I would say, brave of Dennis to trust me to handle sales and marketing and distribution. Yeah. Because he's putting his name at risk. Yeah. Right. So it does go both ways in any kind of business. Even if you had 500 employees and you got 20 people in marketing, sales, and distribution, and they all got to get along. Yeah. So even in our little small scale, it was. I just flew down to Philadelphia, where he was living at the time. Went out for dinner with him. Yeah. And that whole deal was done. And he was also looking for an excuse to move to Nashville, because that's where you find people to do what he needed to do. Yeah. He needed the space there. And so this partnership with me gave him a little extra cash flow to handle the Nashville move.
That's awesome.
And then as soon as that happened, we ended up opening up an office in his building, in the Novo Guitars building. It was just Revolta guitars. Yeah. So, and we hired a few people. Wes Steeds, the guy who's a GM down there now. Mm-hmm. He was running all of Revolta, so social media marketing, sales, all of that kind of stuff. So the Revolta containers were shipping to Nashville. Everything else was shipping to Chicago. So that went along for like 4 or 5 years. And then it just became apparent to me a year ago last winter, that I thought, boy, wouldn't it be great if just the entire operation was in Nashville? Mm-hmm.
Was Nashville on your map? As obviously it's a music city. Was
Yeah.
it always on your map, or was it just kind of
Not-
time and place?
Time and place, and things were happening in U.S. politics and everything that just kind of made things. I just wanted to reduce risk and improve net cash flow out of the business. And having multiple locations, it's expensive.
Yes.
It's always
Yeah.
better to have one location if you can, unless you have a real reason why. Oh, the other thing that happened was Brexit. I forgot about that. That was
Yeah.
kind of a big punch in the teeth. But when that happened, all of a sudden, sales from which were normally good, Germany, big companies or big countries in Europe, just shut off because we didn't have the distribution inside of EU. Because Brexit, UK was now outside of the EU.
Yeah.
So, in hindsight, back to one of your other questions about making decisions, and in hindsight, we dragged our feet on that decision way too long. We should have looked at it and gone, okay, Brexit, UK's out, we need to move to EU and do it now.
Yeah.
In hindsight, that would have been the move, and we didn't, for a bunch of reasons that made sense at the time. But it all came around to just a year ago where I thought, you know what, let's just consolidate everything into Nashville. I've got a bunch of really good people there now.
Yeah.
That I mean, I always look like I'm ready to go golfing because I probably am gonna go golfing, but I can play golf every single day of the week because I got a great team of people.
Yeah.
In Nashville that I can depend on. They know, if and when I'm needed for anything, they know how to get a hold of me.
Yeah.
They all love doing it. It just works better as a team in one place.
Yeah.
Especially the last 2 or 3 years where the social media marketing end of things has become so important.
Yeah. So before you go there, I want to really give you the service of, I think you're one of the business owners that I know that is doing such an incredible job with socials. Like, we're running into the two types of categories. People like yourself who are like, this is where we need to put money and we need to keep doing it. Or people who like won't even think about the opportunity. Yeah. So how did you know, maybe it was through the eBay selling, the online selling in general, but how did you know, okay, we need to just continue to do sales and marketing. We need to continue to do social channels and keep growing and growing and growing.
So primarily because I've been doing it a long time, from print advertising to trade show marketing I've seen every aspect of it.
Yeah.
At the same time, I love living inside of spreadsheets. I just love it. It's just like the one thing I really enjoy doing more than golf almost. But it's just looking at the numbers, analyzing the numbers, and understanding what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And if you take an example of, I'm going to spend $5,000 for a full page ad in Guitar Player magazine, where I have essentially no feedback whatsoever, other than looking at sales at the end of the month and maybe emailing everybody who bought and say, hey, where did you hear about us? Yeah. Versus social, which at any given moment in time, I can see an exact percentage of the return on the advertising spend, and it's remarkable.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome.
And it works, and I've got some guys who work directly with us, not agencies, but like Vince, who's running all our systems. He's still up here in Canada. He's learned so much in the last 10, 15 years about all of this stuff that he's got a handle on it where I can just ask him a simple question. He gives me the answer right away.
That's great.
And I get emails every morning from agencies all over to say, hey, we can improve your ROAS from 6 to 9%. Yeah. And I'm thinking, well, we're already doing 15. Why would I even talk to you guys? It's crazy. But awesome. No, it's and the other thing is we could say like we have a weekly sales meeting for briefly on Tuesday mornings, and I just say, hey Vince, like what's the ad spend look like? Yeah. What's the return on that right now? And the answer is XYZ. So what happens if we double that? Yeah. And he said, well, I've been doing a course on social advertising, Facebook recommends actually not doing that, like maybe going up at 15% increments. So let's do that. So he knows how you're running multiple, all kinds of different ads all the time.
Yeah.
So he understands it, and I've totally embraced it. I love it because the value of it is outstanding.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But I'm sure you're going to ask me, like, but what about the content? Because it doesn't matter how much you spend on it if the content's no good. Yeah,
I was going to say, I think it's interesting that you are not only doing polished content, but you're also doing UGC, and you're also doing creator content. So you're shipping guys guitars, they're playing the guitars, they're doing walkthroughs. Like, that's a whole... Like, there's a guy in our office who makes like fire safety products and all that sort of thing. And I show him the stuff you're doing, and I'm like, you should really try to do some of this. Like, it doesn't need to be all of it, but some of it even. Where did that kind of idea come from? Or was it people more positioning on your team being like, hey, we should try this, we should try this?
The answer to that is the advantage we've had all along is we've been direct to consumer.
Yeah.
So whereas most people in our industry and other industries have distribution. So you would sell a pile of guitars. In the U.S., there's a place called Sweetwater where it's everything music. If you want something, you go to Sweetwater, buy it. If I sell my guitars to Sweetwater, I have to rely on them and their creative team to create content. And because I'm giving them such a discount on the guitars, they're going to spend that money to help sell the guitars for them. Whereas if I'm selling direct to consumer, we have to create the content. We don't have a choice. So, the more content, the better. Yeah. And then we'll let social media figure out, it'll tell us what's good content and what isn't. Yeah. And the other great thing about that is one of the guys we've been using for video for years is RJ Ronquillo. He just moved to Portland. Cool. From Nashville, which was handy when he was in Nashville. He could just drop by and pick up a bunch of guitars. But he does fantastic guitar videos. Yeah. He's been doing it for a decade at least for us. But the thing is, and we'll pay him to do a video, but that video now lives forever. And I could slice it and dice it and reuse it for other purposes. And it's just always out there. And when people see another one of their videos, they'll link through to this video. And so whereas a print ad, it was just there and it's gone. Yeah, I know. And that's what I kind of am getting at is like, you have such an idea of how you can use content, almost the same as we do. Like, it's almost like you're plugged in the same way, but it's because you've been doing it for so long. But we meet a lot of business owners who are just like, have no idea. Okay, we shoot a brand story for them. They're like, what am I going to use that for? And I'm like, there's 100 uses. Like, we could do a product focus. We could do this focus. We could do that focus. So I've always thought it was really cool that you've always been ahead. Also with like the UGC stuff, like talking about how, you posted a video of a fretless bass, then you sold like 50 or like something like that. And it's like, that is the beautiful thing about socials. And I bring that up in a lot of cases is what Eastwood is doing. And I think it's strong because you really never know when that ROI is going to come back. But if it's living on there for a long time, you do have an endless cycle at some point. Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of it is it all kind of points at one another too. Like when somebody sees something, they'll kind of go down a rabbit hole. Well, that was interesting, and then they'll kind of it draws people in. Yeah, whether it's video or static ads or 24 hours, 20% off. I mean, there's all kinds of different things. Yeah. The thing I've always loved about it is you could say to Facebook or Instagram or whatever, you said, here's my content. It's let's say it's 20% off sale. Show this to people in North America, in males between the age of 35 and 65 who are not on our mail list. Nice. Who, like, you could just dial it in. I always use the example of there's a guy in our neighborhood that has a hair salon, small hair salon. But all he needs to do is have somebody like you guys go in there and create a 30-second video of all the services he provides, make it exciting, add some music, and then show it to, females between the ages inside a demographic within a 45-minute drive of where his location is. And people will see it in their feed and think, oh, and if I call today, I can get 20% off my first haircut. Yeah. Like, it's just so simple.
I know, and I look at it the same
People
way.
are afraid of it, though.
I know. I look at it the same way, but the people are afraid of it. Why do you think that is, and how would you recommend someone like ourselves kind of helping with content? And what would you say to business owners out there who are still afraid of socials?
The only way they're going to become less afraid is if they see it actually work for themselves. So, and I don't know if you want to go to the trouble of doing free content as trials, because that could get quite expensive and busy, but creating lots and lots and lots of examples and what do you call it, success stories, which is kind of like what we're doing here, and show it to them and show them how it works. And then, a lot of people, though, just think, well, this is my business. It's not a business. It's just a job that they've created for themselves. Yeah. And if they can live off the referrals that they currently get from their own business that they created for themselves, then that's it.
Yeah.
But if they want to grow the thing,
you
need more revenue, you need more leads, you need more people, you need more customers, and it works.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, because a lot of the ideas that you're talking about is stuff that we've been taught by our mentors. Are you creating a business, or are you creating a more annoying job for yourself?
Yeah.
And you mentioned another thing too. But where do you think, like, has the business knowledge and experience just grown as you're doing it and just figured out along the way? And how have you stayed ever adapting and changing to what's coming? Because I'm sure you know, there's a lot of business owners who just see something working and they get into that rut for 10 years or 15 years and they're like, well, it's working, but it's not growing, but it's not growing as whatever. It's good, like it's fine. But I feel like for you, you've always had exponential growth and you've seen a path and you've been wanting to push that every year.
Yeah. A good example was I quit golf early yesterday because there was going to be this podcast broadcast. I've hit the name of the company. I think it's Navix. They kind of they're business coaches in helping people understand how to ultimately sell their business, because that should be the ultimate goal.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you want to go down the line and sell your business to somebody else.
Yeah.
Or at least prepare it that way. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, this is a 1-hour seminar thing that's right up my alley, because I'm spending a lot of time thinking about that specific subject right now. And to my big disappointment, it was just some guy regurgitating every business book I've ever read in the last 30 years and picking out all the good stuff. Yeah. But I've already done that. Like I already knew every single thing he was going to say to me.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's to do with building a business where you don't need to be a part of it anymore. Yeah. Which I'm almost there.
Yeah.
Like I spend 2 days or 2 visits a week to Nashville. Once on my way to Arizona next week, and then once on my way back in April.
Yeah.
I'm communicating with them, but I don't physically go there, and that's because I got a team of people. Yeah. That I've taught everything I've known or I've learned, I've taught to them, and now I can see in them that they don't need me. In fact, I might even get in the way sometimes.
It's great that you look at the business that way, because I think me and Troy look at the business very similarly. We realized in our first year, hey, we were doing everything at the beginning and we were kind of dropping the ball a little bit on stuff and not fulfilling whatever. We were just kind of going through the trials and tribulations. And now it's like, okay, maybe we've leveraged cash a little bit, but have a lot more free time to actually grow the business, to actually think about what's going to do stuff like this. That's why we launched the podcast, is now we have time, right? So, and it's been the trust in the 3 guys that we're using that we're able to just pass the work off to. They make sure it's done. Me and Troy are still shooting a lot of the projects that are coming in, but eventually, like, I can see how the scale is going to work. Like, we're trying to hire a sales guy next. So consistent lead flow. Yeah. And then it's like, I can kind of take a little bit of a step back too and just oversee and manage. And when did you kind of decide, like, this is kind of what I want to start doing, or was it just a natural progression?
Well, first of all, you guys are lucky that you're learning what you're learning here this early in your, because I went through 20 years in a software company, and I still didn't quite clearly get that I need to basically replace myself constantly. And the reason, because we were held back by debt, by all kinds of other issues that kind of drag on your excitement of scaling the business.
Mm-hmm.
Once I got the guitar thing going, I had the freedom to kind of just learn. And like I said, I read every business book you could possibly think of, and they all have little nuggets of things like this in them.
Yeah.
But it became apparent as you're growing that I no longer need to talk to this particular guy every day about this particular subject.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, if I leave him alone and tell him, hey, you should start thinking about replacing yourself,
Yeah.
because the faster you grow, stop doing the little tasks.
Yeah.
Hire somebody to hand that off. Focus on the more valuable stuff, because that's what I'm doing. I'm focusing on the much more valuable tasks as I grow.
Yeah.
And you need to get every employee in the company thinking that way.
Yeah.
Because it's better for them and they enjoy it more. They feel more value in what they bring to the table.
Yeah, and it comes back to culture too, like empowering them to do that. They have a saying where you're an entrepreneur or you're an intrapreneur. So you're working for somebody else, and you have, that person is maybe pushing you to be entrepreneurial. And I think probably me and Troy were both intrapreneurials and then adapted to entrepreneurials. And just knowing that we didn't really want to work for anybody else.
Yeah.
And then doing it on our terms as well. Like we have the grace to accept projects that we want to take on at the price points that we feel are fair, and just keep on scaling the business. And that's what I spend 90% of my day thinking about, is like, what do we continue to do to push sales and marketing and generation in the business? How do we kind of get some of that debt paid down so we can be better leveraged? And yeah, I'm just like thankful that I have the time to actually do that, because if I was stuck doing the day-to-day, I wouldn't. Like tonight I'm going to a networking event, and like, but that frees me from the time to actually like do that sort of thing, because if I was stuck, I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
And then the business, you would hit a plateau where we've seen year-over-year growth, month-over-month growth.
Yeah.
And that's all the major metrics I'm tracking.
Yeah. Well, and be aware that in the future there's going to be some hard times for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, not that I want to scare anybody, but I'm pretty confident there's an imminent stock market crash coming.
Yeah.
And what happens when that happens is people go, oops, I'm not spending any money on sales and marketing right now. I got to hunker down and hide, which is the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, I was going to say.
When you're in that system, you should be doing exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
But in my world, people say, well, do I really need another guitar, or do I need groceries?
Yeah.
And so they stop buying guitars. So, you just need to be nimble and prepared for that, because it's going to happen 2, 3, 4 times in your lifetime.
Yep, for sure.
It just does.
Yeah. And it's funny because during the pandemic, I had some creatives make a lot of money during the pandemic because they were working with companies that understood, hey, everyone's buying online right now. Yeah. Everyone's at home on their computers, getting a little bit of extra money from CERB, whatever. They're really going to start buying stuff. So it's like, we should really lean into that online presence. So I'm hoping, like, I just want to try to figure out a way where I can continue to position ourselves like that, and just realize like, actually, it feels like the first thing you should pull, but it's probably maybe one of the last things you should look at.
Yeah, it took me a long time to learn that, but because it's the opportunity where all of your competition sticks their head in a hole and hides.
It's true.
And that's the time where you should be going all in and at least possibly not generating new revenue, but generating barrels of leads.
Yeah.
That's the opportunity. Well, when COVID hit, we were panic struck and thinking, oh, this can't be good. And then 3 weeks later, sales are coming in from everybody's sitting around. Every waiter in New York City isn't at the restaurant, and he's getting paid more to stay at home, and he's buying guitars.
Yeah.
Guitars and effects pedals and all kinds of toys. So yeah, we had the best run of almost 2 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but and a lot of companies kind of went through that. But yeah.
What do you think is another piece of advice that people should consider in business, even just general?
Don't be afraid of it.
Yeah.
Most people. What was the quote I heard? Now I'm not going to get it right. Most people overestimate the difficulty of starting a business and underestimate the opportunity. If that makes sense.
It does,
they're
yeah.
afraid.
Yeah.
Who was it? I think it was Jeff Bezos said that, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
Most people think, we can't do this.
Yeah.
And then they go, well, how much money can we possibly, we're not going to make that much money.
Yeah, there's no way I'm going to replace my salary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's It's fun taking risk
Yeah, for sure.
for some people. Some
Yeah.
people, they're not built for it.
I know. And definitely, I go through my challenges myself too. It's just like the ups and downs of cash flow. And like we've realized that August is pretty much a dead month for us as a business. People are just, and then Q4, September, October, people go insane. So it's like now I have a little bit more data where I can look into the years prior and the years coming of this is what I should expect for trends. Ideally, we would have income throughout these entire months anyways, but don't be afraid when there's a dip in August, for example, or January or December, knowing that people are positioning their spends differently. They're looking at their budgets. They're looking at, okay, I should put some more money in Q4 because we haven't seen what we're trying to do. But that's been a learning process for me. And that's like where I just need to I've been trying better at just keeping, okay, it's all going to come around. It's going to come around. And just having faith that it's going to work out.
Well, you'll look back 10 years from now and you'll see that there's this repeatable trend on everything.
Yeah.
But the other thing you should be thinking is, well, if there's always a dip in August, somebody somewhere is spending some advertising money on something. Maybe you're just barking up the wrong tree, and you have to figure out what people are looking for in August.
Yeah.
And then go sell them that particular service.
Yeah, that's a good
But
point.
I see. I mean, obviously for retail products, so what we do, Black Friday, this time of year is always ridiculously busy, but it becomes so noisy. I mean, you can't open up your email without getting bombarded by.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, I'm into golf. I get golf emails from stuff, year-end clearance sale. It's just nonstop.
Yeah.
But that's why it's important to market to do a better job of marketing than your competition is.
Yeah. Are you always kind of keeping an eye on like where do you get your inspiration from as far as like those sales metrics? Like, because I see the newsletters come in and they're great, really polished, and there's a ton of different ideas for sales. And I've mentioned that to a couple guys in here of like, hey, are you running newsletters? Are you running sales on your newsletter? And they're like, no, we're not. Where do you like, it doesn't even have to be guitar related, but like, are you getting maybe some of the golf emails and being like, oh, we should do that for Eastwood or nice.
A lot of the stuff like flash sales.
Yeah.
I think we even scooped some of the graphics off of one of the golf emails I get. But
Nice.
no, I think the thing is, people in UK are way more conservative there in North America. I'm just as an example.
Yeah.
So therefore, they tend to not email as many newsletter info. They think it's spam. But reality is these days, it's so easy to just delete something or unsubscribe for something.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bothersome. It's not like somebody knocking on your door and you having to stop what you're doing. You got to get up and answer the door.
Yeah.
So I've always thought, what a buddy of mine had a record out years ago, and the title was "Quantity and Lots of It." The point being, like, don't be afraid. Like, if you're hitting the right people, they're not going to delete, they're not going to unsubscribe. And the wrong people will delete and unsubscribe.
Yeah.
But without getting the message out there, that's why every small business needs certainly the services you guys are providing. You just need to figure out what the financial metrics of it.
Yeah.
How much is it going to cost them to make it, and what's the return going to look like?
Yeah.
And you gotta help them find that answer.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Yeah, for sure. Where do you see Eastwood going in the next couple of years? What are your plans over the next 3 years?
I wouldn't say retirement because I kind of feel retired, but I'm 66. I just turned 66, so I'm comfortable with the whole team and the whole way it operates.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying. I wouldn't say mentoring them, but I'm enjoying helping them grow to the point where they can just run this whole thing by themselves, and I don't even need to be involved whatsoever.
Yeah.
I'm not really looking to sell the business because I don't need to, but that's another avenue. You always want to have your business ready to sell if that's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Which would benefit all the employees, not just me. But what I'm not looking to do is scale. You get to a certain age and I don't need the stress of trying to really grow this thing any further.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I feel like you have scaled it pretty reasonably, but you found the pocket where you're, and that's kind of, I've talked to Troy about this a lot too, is like, I think for our company, like maybe 9 to 10 people would be like absolutely perfect. I think anything higher is diluted. Like we could, we have people doing $1 million a year in the video production business. And I don't necessarily think that is fully aligned with what we want to do. Mm-hmm. But if we get there, we get there.
Yeah.
But how did you know where that kind of line was where you're like...
Well, for those of you who don't know what we do, we make weird replicas of funky, odd guitars from the 50s and 60s. And that is a finite audience for that type of stuff. Yeah, you could chip away at a guy who has a Gibson and Fender collection, and you do find them every now and again, and they're pleasantly surprised because their expectations are so low that what we deliver just blows them out of the water. But they're still, at the end of the day, Gibson Fender guys. So the only way to grow it, scale it further, would be to get into significant international distribution. And that is a big, huge can of worms that somebody else, if I had a 35-year-old doppelganger of myself with deep pockets, they could easily do that.
Yeah.
But it's a whole lot of debt, a whole lot of stress, and I'm way beyond that at this point.
Yep.
So I like the pocket that I'm in. When it relates to what you guys do, just for what it's worth, over the last 40 years, including my software days, you'd go to agencies, advertising agencies, which you guys are basically a microcosm of, sort of. You're a pocket of one of the things that they would offer. And you'd walk in there and say, okay, I want help with social media for this guitar company I have. And they will say, oh, write a check for $50,000 and we can start talking. And I think it's because they gear to what you're talking about, scaling way beyond 9 or 10 people.
Yeah.
Now they have a big organization with huge amounts of overhead. Mm-hmm. And they really can only cater to businesses that are $50 million and up in revenue. Yeah. Whereas what you guys can put together is way better, way more nimble service for anybody from $1 million to $15 million in revenue. Yeah. And really deliver fast results, as opposed to, I mean, you could go around to any business and I'll bet you get like an 80% response rate saying that the money we spent on that XYZ advertising agency just was a tap that ran down the drain. Yeah. 20% of them will say, wow, yeah, they really, and those are the guys you'll see advertising on their website. Mm-hmm. Billy says we were the greatest thing ever. But, it's, I think the more nimble you can stay. Yeah.
And that's kind of how we've wanted to position it as well, is like you're getting a high-end production quality, but you actually get to call me. You get to have a clear communication thread through the entire process. And then you have quick delivery. And we also touch companies that are still a little bit lower, and like we tailor to what they can spend, obviously based on we have a minimum, but that's exactly kind of the business model that I've been trying to accomplish. Yeah. And that's been learned over the last couple of years.
And I think that's the way of the future. I think big advertising firms they can't get out of their own way. Mm-hmm. And we'd be pitched something, give us a check for $50,000 to get us started, and we can blah blah blah, and then they shove it off to some of their newest employees that they just hired, that you're not really getting the quality of the people you were talking to.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas now, young, nimble, it just, you want the content and the deliverable way faster these days. And as we move forward, even faster and faster and faster. Mm-hmm. So the more nimble you can be, the better it is for you and for your customers, for sure.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, this was a pleasure, Mike, as always. Any last kind of words you want to talk about, or anything else you want to say?
No, not a whole bunch.
Where can they find you? Where do you want people to find you? If they're in Nashville, go visit the warehouse.
Yeah. Go visit the warehouse in Nashville. Ping any email address on the website. Somebody will get back to you right away. Yeah. I mean, you guys have been there. You know what it's like. Just a great, like the greatest group of people down there. Everybody's having fun. Yeah. That's what I like.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.